leadership. That makes my title very difficult to explain to my mother, but I think in the climate bubble, you kind of know what it means. Very, very happy to be here. Let's maybe start with a confession among us, an intimate confession among us. It was a surprise, right? Like to start COP like this. It was a surprise to start with a good, positive commitment on loss and damage, to start with loss and damage. We were a bit sort of, all surprised. But I guess now, after the first 2 days of surprise, it's time to be back and be vigilant. And in terms of ensuring accountability, ensuring how much money will actually come, where it will go, how it will work, to who it will go, and if it will really go to protect the ones that need it the most. So after the surprise, now it's again the time to be vigilant. And so thank you very much for being here. And we think at C40 and with the Scottish Government, we think that at this key moment of operationalization, for an Italian saying this word is very difficult, please forgive me. We think it's essential to hear from local leaders, from subnational, from the ones that know where the vulnerabilities are and how to tackle them. To understand how truly vast the dimension of loss and damage is in our cities, but likewise to know what the action is that is already happening and that can prevent and tackle the impacts of the climate crisis that are already lapping at our doors. And finally, what it takes to design and implement successful loss and damage that is fit for purpose for cities and local communities. Because while climate hazards hit rural and urban areas alike, many extreme events produce the highest economic and non-economic impacts in our cities, as also recognized by the IPCC. And these impacts mostly affect marginalized and most vulnerable residents, as a very, very interesting and important campaign from the youth movement and Fridays for Future. We're all in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. The impacts affect all of us. 98% of our cities already report having faced severe climate threats, jeopardizing their economic and social prosperity. But in cities, youth, women, the most vulnerable, low income, the informal workers are the ones who suffer the most. Just to give you one example, in our global north country, after Hurricane Katrina, 2/3 of the jobs losses were lost by women and by Afro-American women. It's always the most discriminated that suffer the most. And this is cities know it very well. And with more than half of the global population already living and working in cities, climate risk and related loss and damage are becoming increasingly urban in nature. There's an urban dimension to loss and damage, and this is specifically what is not yet recognized at the multilateral level and what is not yet recognized in the agreements and in decisions that are being made. So we're very, very proud for today's event. I think it's the first one, together with another one happening now, thanks to our colleagues at UCLG, but it's the first one on the urban dimension of loss and damage and cities and loss and damage in history. And this has been possible thanks to the leadership of first movers, governments and subnationals like the Scottish Government. And at C40, we're very, very proud to co-host this event together. So brace yourself for an event that will feature strong voices of true leaders taking action on the ground, and that will also feature some announcements and a new partnership that I won't say more on. With this, it is now my honor to introduce a true leader on loss and damage, and not only on loss and damage, Humza Yousaf, First Minister of Scotland, to give opening remarks and join us for a panel discussion.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Katerina, for that very kind introduction. And let me welcome everybody to this multi-level action and urbanization pavilion. Not necessarily the sexiest name we've had for a pavilion, but I hope you understand the message that it is trying to communicate. And I welcome you here. We are delighted to be hosting this pavilion with our friends in ICLEI and, of course, all of the other partners. And I want to thank C40 in particular for hosting this event alongside us. And since we've hosted this pavilion, in fact, since I've been at COP, I cannot tell you the hundreds of people who have come up to me to tell me their own relationship with Scotland. A friend, they maybe studied in Scotland, They have some family ancestry in Scotland. And it reminds me of that wonderful phrase that there's two types of people in the world, Scots and those who want to be Scottish. So whichever one you are in the crowd today, you are most welcome here. And for us, Katerina spoke very kindly there about the leadership that we have shown on loss and damage. We're not the only ones. There's other colleagues here have shown exceptional leadership in that area. But we did so at COP26 in Glasgow because of the issue of justice. And I thought a lot about justice recently because just a couple of days ago, in Dubai, in fact, we celebrated St. Andrew's Day. St. Andrew is our patron saint in Scotland. And we did a celebration event here in Dubai. And I think a lot about St. Andrew. St. Andrew, as one of my former colleagues in the Scottish Parliament was reminding me, he's a patron saint, a revered saint in Russia and Ukraine. He began his ministry and preaching in Israel and Palestine. And he preached peace. And justice has to be inherent in peace. You can't have peace without justice. So therefore, the issue of loss and damage is an issue of justice. And so for us, actually, although people say it was a brave move, it was a commendable move, actually it was just the right thing to do because Scotland has benefited for decades from industrialization, benefited for decades from oil and gas extraction. And although we face some impacts of climate change, nowhere near the scale of the devastation our friends in the global south and least developed countries face. And that's why I was delighted to announce some further funding for loss and damage, taking our total contribution to £10 million. And of course, we were delighted to see some progress and of course, an agreement on loss and damage here in the opening day of COP. And of course, there's still some issues to be vigilant on. I think that is exactly the word to use, Katerina. But let's not allow perfect to be the enemy of the good. Where there's progress, I think we should celebrate progress. We should welcome progress. But let's also be clear, in Scottish Government, in its conversations with our friends in the Global South, they have told us that loss and damage funding must not increase the debt burden they're already facing. And we could not agree more. We do not want to see high interest loans increasing the debt burden on the Global South. So let's say that unequivocally here today. And the joint work we do with C40 for us is so important. I'm so delighted to be on this panel. The people I'm on with they inspire me. Yvonne, of course, Atikul Mohammed Islam, and of course, she needs no introduction, and Hidalgo for the leadership that they have shown as leaders in their own cities and in their own countries. So what we'll continue to do in Scotland is show leadership, and we have managed to do that through loss and damage funding. And I'm delighted actually that today I'm able to announce that Scotland is partnering with C40, and we will be providing £1 million to support your project in relation to the issue of urban loss through the network's very inclusive climate action programme. And that funding will help to scale up pilots and schemes that are improving climate resilience for a further 5 cities in the global south. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are most welcome here to the pavilion. You're, of course, always most welcome in Scotland. We have the exact same weather in Dubai. If anybody tells you anything different, no, of course, the weather may not be so warm, but the welcome will always be warm in Scotland. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoy what I think will be a very informative discussion, particularly with such experienced and wonderful panel guests that are joining me. We look forward to your questions. We look forward to the discussion ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, First Minister. I would really like, on behalf of all of C40 cities and of all of our network, to extend my sincere gratitude to the Scottish Government for your support and leadership. And also, we're incredibly excited to announce already the first activity, already delivering. We're doers. That we are launching today our first report on loss and damage and the challenges and opportunities for city leadership. So the first of its kind in its landscape, showing exactly what it means to have an urban dimension of loss and damage. What are the activities that cities are taking, and what are the things that the negotiators should take in mind and be aware of. So please download the report, bring it to the negotiators, bring it to the national governments, disseminate it. It's the first of its kind, and it really speaks to the urban dimension of loss and damage and the fantastic action that cities are doing. So with this, I would like to invite some of our fellow panelists today here to join us for a discussion. We have, of course, First Minister Humza Yousaf, who we've just heard from. We have our very recently elected co-chair, the Mayor of Freetown, Ivona Kisoyer, a true leader. Mayor Islam of Dhaka North, that is also co-chair of a task force on climate-induced migration that we are delivering with our partners, the Mayors Migration Council, and Mayor Hidalgo of Paris, a true leader in collaboration with cities on loss and damage, and Nikki Becker, co-founder of Jóvenes por el Clima. So please, a big round of applause to all of them, and please join me in the panel. Sorry, I just stole the microphone to First Minister. Okay, so welcome again. Thank you very much for being here. We will try to keep it to 2 rounds so we can have a proper discussion. And so I will ask to please keep the interventions to 3 or 4 minutes. You are our climate heroes, so you can imagine how hard it is for me to interrupt. So please don't make me do it. I know Mayor Hidalgo unfortunately has to leave a little bit earlier. Mayor Hidalgo will speak in French. You have in English. Oh, wow, fantastic. So we had translation, but fantastic. She's speaking in French, in English. So I will hand it over to you, Mayor Hidalgo, at the start, in order to understand what is lived reality of urban loss and damage. You have been with the city of Abidjan, you have played a key role in organizing the COP de Ville, the COP of Cities last year, which resulted in one of the first mayor-led diplomatic efforts that addressed urban loss and damage. And you have really sort of shown what it means to cooperate with other cities on addressing loss and damage. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, dear Prime Minister, because you launched this big project, and today, 2 years after, we are here together with a fund. This fund is here, and we are talking about it, talking about how this fund can help the cities and the cities of the south. Of course, we need to have investment for the cities in the south, and this fund is one of the response. But let me maybe tell you that in this COP, this proposal and this new action is very good news. Maybe in this COP, another good news is that this COP changed the games of the COPs, because this COP28 opened the games. We knew is very interesting. We are here, we're still here, and now we will be part of the negotiation and of the global dialogue. It's very important because since maybe 8 years in the COP21 in Paris and the Paris Agreement, we are fighting for that. Not just because we love the COPs and we love to be in meeting all the days in meeting. No. Because we know that we need to be here, because if the cities are not here and the local government are not in the discussion, well, the achievement of Paris Agreement will be not so efficient. And we need to go quickly, faster to the achievement of the Paris Agreement. And it is why in this process, this process, and the people need the presence and the activism of the mayor and of the local government. And I think maybe we have to make a little work now, because we have one agenda, the agenda of the Paris Agreement, the climate agenda for all the world and for our cities. But we have many agenda who can cross this big agenda. I think building this fund, lost and damaged, is one of the strategic points now, because who around the table? Only the cities with the global bank, maybe, but we know that today there are an agenda about how we can change the role of the financing, because we need to be more in the proximity and for the cities, and the cities in the global south. And I think we need to be present in the discussion, in the dialogue about how this fund will be built, the board, who decide about what, and how the cities and the local governments have one place in this discussion. Because if we in this beautiful news, if we think that it's okay, we have what we want to have, maybe we are a little naive, and we don't have a right to be naive today. And I think this agenda of how we can build these funds. Today we have an agenda with, for example, the Commission Sachs, Jeffrey Sachs, with also the mayor of Rio, Eduardo Paes. I'm in this commission. A lot of mayors are present in this commission. This commission is building and working about how we can, in the global system, have a bank, a green bank for the cities, and of course for the also for the global south and for the city of the global south. This agenda of the Commission Sachs will be maybe work is building with the agenda of the fund lost and damaged. And also the G20 in Brazil next year will be an opportunity to bring ideas about how we can build this fund lost and damaged. And after that, and I finish with that, I will organize in Paris in July, because in July we're hosting the Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games. And I will hosting in Paris meeting with mayors and with you, our colleague, Mr. Prime Minister, in Paris, about how the cities, how the local level, since the COP28 to July 24, because the date, save the date, July 24, 2 days before the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games in Paris, we will have this moment together to explain, to talk, to work about how since the COP28 to Paris in July, what we have done. And I think it will be very interesting that all these agendas can be crossed, and because we need to mobilize all our energy and our forces, because we don't have a time. We don't have a time. Thank you so much.
We don't have time and cities to ensure accountability and creativity. I very much like that. Mir Islam, another thing that has been recognized by the operationalization of the Loss and Damage Fund is the recognition of climate-induced migration as one of the losses and damages at play and one of the challenges at play. You are doing a lot in your city, not only to overcome the impacts of the climate crisis, but also to face the climate-induced migration that is already a reality. It's not something in the future. What do you think about this recognition, and what are you doing in Dhaka that can inspire better operationalization?
Thank you very much. First of all, just to begin my speech, I am really remembering Dr. Salimul Haq, who were living together. He was my mentor, he was my friend, but a sudden death of Salimul Haq, I'm really sorry for that. And he's the champion, and he's started the dialogue for loss and damage. So I'm really, thank you so much. I remember, we must remember that he was the most happiest person if he was today's this seminar, because from day one, his voice is loss and damage, loss and damage, loss and damage. Before I come, last Wednesday, I have a meeting with especially for the induced migration, and we make a seminar where the UNDP, UN, the UK from embassy, US embassies, everybody's that was with me. And yeah, I've been myself to the migrant and the informal settlers, and everybody, they make a placard. They want good life, healthy life. They're supposed not to be here, but today they are here. When I inside the informal settlers, there's the one settlers called the coral settlers. I think many people, they've been there, coral settlers. But why today they are staying in the coral, in the settlers, informal settlers? They're supposed not to be. The Vashantek informal settlers. So the today's, the COP28, at least we must give a thanks, and thanks to our friend that at least you come forward, and commitment. That is the in between the relation with our chair, Akhi, and that is the C40s. And we are, let's work together. And I like give a round of applause for our the First Minister for the Glasgow. So now, thank you. So now the question is that, what is the commitment till now? I'm just discussing with the moderator. What is the commitment till now? It is maybe less than $500 million, if I'm not wrong. But whatever it is, whatever, I was just discussing with my from Bangladesh, Dhaka cities, with some expertise, that what she was saying, that how long we can wait. But if this COP don't give any kind of direction, I was thinking that everybody, we have a time. Time is money, time is value. We are coming every time to COP. At least the COP28 give us at least some kind of hope. It is just a start. It is just begin. It is just begin. So now question of that, how we can get it into the subnational government. That's a very challenging. How you dispose the money, what is the mechanism, how much you are going to share, how much you're going to give with this and this and this. So we need to make a formula now, which is very much important now. When I met with last Wednesday, I met with my the induced displacement. They're saying, Mr. Islam, you're going there. Please bring some good news. So I can say, of course, we are going to get the good news. But what is the amount of that good news? That's a very important. What is the amount of good news? How much due to the Paris Agreement? It is 1.5. Now it is more than 2.8. The temperature. And that one, the loss and damage is going escalating up and up and up. So what is the demand between the 100 billion? That is going up and up and up as well. So it is very much correlated with the Paris Agreement. So is the question of the NDC. They have to come up. And they have to change their mindset up now. I am really appreciating, but one thing, how come the United States is giving only 80 million, affected the most in the world, but they are, so I think this is the joke of COP28. How come they declare only 80 million? How come? So there's a lot of challenges we can talk. This is the question of that we are facing the 3 C's now all over the world. One C is the post-COVID. Another C is the conflict. And another C is the climate change. What we made it by ourselves. Now this is the question, how we can stop the melting of the North Pole. How we are going to stop the melting of in the Everest as well. If we cannot stop this kind of war, then the climate change is going to be big threatening for our future generation also. So with that, again, I like to give a thanks to come up with this kind of, at least from the Glasgow COP26, and we're looking forward to work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Islam. A threat for future generations. Well said. Nikki Becker, you're hearing strong voices from mayors. Loss and damage, the youth movement have made it clear, is a climate justice issue, in particular for the new generations. Why do you think it's important to recognize cities as part of confronting loss and damage, and what can you do together?
Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina, a country where 2 out of 3 children live in poverty or don't have access to basic human rights. And we have a new president elected who openly denies climate change. And why I'm saying this, because I realized one example for Buenos Aires, where I live, in the next 4 years, it's going to be really hard with a president that denies the climate crisis. And it will be fundamental to have local action in Buenos Aires. And also because we know that the climate crisis is not something that is going to have an impact in the future, but that actually have an impact right now. In Buenos Aires, during the last summer, we had 9 heat waves, not 1, 9. And we know that we are now equally impacted by the climate crisis, and the heat wave show us that really clearly, because it's not the same to face a heat wave when you have a house and you have access to energy and to drinkable water, if you don't have access to housing, for example. And that's a situation that it's common in Buenos Aires, for example. So the loss and damage fund, I think it's fundamental, but we know that it's not enough if we don't because it's so important, but as well mitigation, because it's not enough if we don't stop the emission of greenhouse gases emissions. So I think there are a lot of reasons of why loss and damage are fundamental, but also because the present and the future of my generation is at risk, and we know we need to have more resilient cities in order to guarantee our generation a real future.
Thank you very much, Nikki, also for the time. Very much appreciated. Mayor Aki Sawyer, I know youth and co-creating with youth is very close to your heart. You've heard, from your fellow colleagues, from Nikki, as co-chair of C40 and as mayor of Freetown, how are you experiencing the reality of loss and damage in your city? What are you doing, and what are your cities doing together?
Thank you very much. And although we've applauded the Scottish government, First Minister in particular, twice, we're going to have to do it one more time. We'd like to say a big thank you for the $1 million that you have just given to C40 through the Climate Justice Fund. And the fact that it is the Justice Fund, I think, says it all. The loss and damage is about the injustice, and the injustice happens not just in the Global South, but even in the Global North. We know that when we see the photographs or the footage of disasters like Katrina, we know that it's the poor who are most affected. But that said, we also know that in the Global South, we have a disproportionate level of people who are devastated. And when you're living in poverty, and maybe you're a female trader, a single mom who ekes a living by, selling vegetables or selling secondhand clothes, and you live in an informal settlement, which is created on the edge of a mangrove. When the rain comes, as it happens more and more now, your life is literally washed away. So poverty compounded by climate-induced disaster means that you go back. And what's missing in many of our countries, and I'm sure it's the same in Argentina, is insurance. So when we see the photographs of the floods in Greece or the fires in California, we hear the insurance companies complain, and understandably, about what this is doing to their business, about the increase in premiums, but there is insurance. When you're talking about whole countries, cities, hundreds of millions of people who have never had insurance, who have nothing to fall back on, that single disaster could actually take them into a level of poverty that they're unable to come out of. So the loss and damage conversation is very, very important, but it's important for us to be able to break it up. It's important for us to understand the fundamental concept is that those who are responsible for the climate crisis should pay for it. So that's where the idea is coming from. And, I echo the sentiment that it's a fantastic start to actually have, hundreds of millions put forward. I will also echo the statement that it is insufficient. So we are looking for more. And that's not from a position of, oh, woe is me, give to me, I'm needy. No, this is, as I think I said in COP in Sharm el-Sheikh, and I'm going to say it again, when you are riding a Mercedes-Benz and I'm on a bicycle, if you hit me and smash my bicycle, you should pay. This is just about justice. You should pay. So the reason we're coming and saying loss and damages is not out of a position of, I'm begging you. No, you owe me. So that we need to get that right. So on the regional global level, we have that. But then as Islam has said, and also Anne said, we need to get to the brass tacks, to the actual how will this work? How will it work? When there's the formula, the framework, the policy structure, if there's 100 million, how much of that goes to whom? And if it goes to countries, how much of that goes down to cities? And if it goes to cities, how are we looking at this? Is it because something happened to you yesterday? Is it going to be like an insurance policy? Or is it because we're investing in preventing future loss by having adaptation strategies? So there's a lot to work through. And it'd be nice to be working through it with a bigger number, because that would just make it, more realistic in terms of the impact it would have. Because let's be real, $500 million is not going to go very far when you're talking about hundreds of millions of people who are in this position. Just, that's like a dollar a person. So let's think about it that way. And let's also project the fact that, as Nicole has said, we've got governments who are now denying the climate crisis. This is where the cities come in. This is why that city, local ownership and leadership is so critical. So no matter what the national government is saying, if cities are built into the formula, if cities are at the table, then we can be more assured that the solutions and the operational framework that will be developed will be one that will really have people at the heart of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, First Minister, you've heard from these brilliant leaders. You were the first Global North country, yeah, country. I'm Italian.
Yeah,
It's fine. I was reading about it in the newspaper. Anyway. So you were the first Global North leader to pledge funding for loss and damage. And now you're also the first one to explicitly fund urban action to address loss and damage. Why is it so important for you to lead on this front? And why is it important for Scotland?
Well, thank you so much. And I find it really difficult to follow on from such a powerful intervention and contribution from my colleagues that we just heard. From a Scottish perspective, we are a relatively small country, population of just over 5 million people. But we always believe that at our level, as a devolved government, absolutely as a country, and a historic country in that right, that we are able to exert the maximum influence by showing leadership. And what we all do, every single mayor and indeed our colleagues in civil society, what we all do is that we challenge those national governments to go further, to go faster, to go quicker, to do more. And that is where the advantage comes. So we are often the first mover. And we believe if we're the first mover, we can demonstrate to others who say, you can't do this. You have to think of this consequence and that consequence. And all our partners in the Global South here is excuse, excuse, excuse. But what we can do is say, well, actually, it's far more simple. It's not complicated. It's an injustice. We've benefited from it. We've become wealthy from industrialization, but we're not paying the price. Our friends in the Global South are paying the price. And we can simplify it, show first mover advantage, and then we begin to eradicate the excuses. And that's why we end up on the first days of COP having an agreement on loss and damage. And I agree with everything my colleagues have said. It's about the capitalization and it's about the operationalization of it. And I mentioned in my contribution, I'm not deciding this. I've had many conversations with my friends in the Global South, just most recently with His Excellency the President of Zambia, and an agreement that we cannot force or increase, I should say, the debt burden on countries in the Global South. That would be unacceptable if that is how the fund was distributed. So what we have to do is work alongside our friends in the Global South, amplify the voices where we can. And I commend the work of, for example, Mia Motley, Her Excellency of Barbados. Fantastic work through the Bridgetown Initiative. I think we should absolutely look at that as the blueprint of fundamental reform in terms of financing these initiatives. So look, as I said, let's not allow perfect to be the enemy of the good. Progress has absolutely been made, but let's be vigilant, as you rightly said. And from a Scottish perspective, we're now looking at where next we can show first mover advantage, where next we can be the leaders, because this issue is far from resolved. And whatever happens at COP28, there will still be issues where we can show leadership on. And I look forward to providing that leadership when I can.
Yes, just a few words. I'm very happy to be in the meeting who the C40 recognized today Scotland as a country. Very, very happy to be here. It's the first step, and it's very nice. Now, just when you are talking about Argentina and the new president, I remember when I was chair of the C40 network of cities, Donald Trump became as president of the United States. And Mike Bloomberg and the C40 Cities Network, we organized meetings with the mayor of North America, because when Donald Trump said we go out from the Paris agreements, Mike Bloomberg and the cities and the mayor said we're still in the Paris agreement. And it was very, very so important, because all the mayors in the North America are acting during these very bad years and acting about the Paris Agreement and the objective. Well, now we need to join the agenda of the cities and local governments in this multilateral governance of climate and the financing of the cities and local government. We have to join this both agenda if we want to be efficient, because we know that we are acting in our cities and in our cities in the north or in the south. We have a lot of people in our cities in the north for example, come to Paris. Why? People from the south, migrants, refugees, are coming to Paris and many cities like London and another city in the north, because we have a light, we have services, we have, because we are progressive, humanist people in this city, leading these cities. And when we have this population and also citizens in the cities with very, very low situation, we have policies for these people, because we know that our job is to allow to the people to live together in the better life. And we don't choose the people. You can, we are at the real scale in the cities and local governments. We see the people, we are in the proximity, and also we share the global issues. And I think it is why we need now to work about how we can manage the fund loss and damage, not alone with the country, but not without us. Thank you. And I have to leave. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Hidalgo, for being with us. I know you have a packed schedule and packed agenda. Cooperation Live. So we have another few minutes for a very quick last round before final remarks. So it's the 13th of December. COP has ended. You're going back home, or you're already back home. You've listened to the news. In your ideal world, what has happened? One thing, crucial thing that has happened, and what does have to happen afterwards, a result of it in your daily work? Miraki Sawyer.
So we've been grappling with this idea of insurance for a really long time. I'm excited that this week at COP, there's going to be a launch by Climate Resilience for All of an insurance policy for women that's going to affect, I think, about 150,000. What would be a really good thing for us is for there to be clarity about how we can access the loss and damage and how it can be leveraged. So one of the things that, I think would be really worth having a conversation around is how the loss and damage, how elements of that loss and damage, obviously not all, elements of it can go towards funding insurance. Insurance for the poor, insurance that's affordable, because we are in a place and that goes alongside adaptation, of course, because you want to protect as well. But the reality is the temperatures have risen. We are experiencing climate events. We will continue to experience climate events. How do we use the fund, some of the fund, to provide that backstop, to provide that safety net, to leverage so that it's seed capital into which others can pay premium. And then you can, you have more, so it doesn't disappear, because that's the thing about 500 million, it'll be gone very quickly. How does that become a sustainable investment to which more is added and more can be done, with which more can be done?
Thank you very much. Very clear. Mir Islam, what has happened and on the 13th of December, and what has to happen in Dhaka for Dhaka?
Of course, the 13th of December. So 14th of December, what will be my cities, they want to know. How much money did you bring? Yes, that's the reality. Lost and found. This is the very straight question, how much and what is for me? I lose everything due to the climate change. Where is my uh, calculation? So calculation is very important. The formula, a plus b whole square is equal to a square plus twice ab plus b square. So that kind of formula we have to very much obtain and very much black and white. If we can do that, yes, we are success. Very straightforward. How much money I have it done, and for future also. If by 2050 all over the world, if we cannot maintain the temperature, the 216 million globally, internationally displaced by 2050, 216 million. And in Bangladesh, it will be around 16 million people will be displaced by 2050. So whether the whole world can take the responsibility for that much of loss and damage? No. We have to think about right now. And what is what is that one? No matter what, if we cannot maintain this 1.5 degree, then we are sending the sentence to death to our future generation. Sentence to death. So I think that now our responsibility to walk up, and there's peanuts of this kind of funding. We have to be more voice rise up that, hey, this is not enough. We need to stop the industrialization of all over the world. I'm just giving one example. My background is the textile. I am the textile guy. I have the garments industry. I have 19,000 workers in my factory. So when I produce something, the clothes, my customer is saying, hey, you have the shade variation of your clothes. But for the shade variation in my textile, I am doing everything again, the re-dyeing, reproducing. So re-dyeing and reproducing, just think about how much fossil fuel we are burning. Only for fashion. So this kind of voice we have to talk right now from the bottom. The color variation we can accept, but we cannot. First we need to accept that what is the color variation, we can accept it to stop the planet. That is the message. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Nikki Becker, same question for you. You're back home on the 13th. What do you hope has happened?
Oh, a lot of things, but I hope we get to an agreement of loss and damages in which we know, again, who is going to put the money, how many, of course. Again, not in the form of loans, because when you break something, you don't, and you pay for it, you don't expect to receive it back. And I think that's a specific point that is really important, for example, for Argentina, that we have to pay an enormous external debt at the same time to mitigate and adapt to the effects of the climate crisis. But also, to be honest, what I expect is that it's just not on paper, because that's what happened historically with climate finance. And we know that even if we have an amazing agreement here, then we have to put pressure to see it in reality. And that's what it matters. So definitely that. Thank you.
So First Minister, over to you. What's next?
Look, again, thank you for such a really inspiring and very insightful conversation from colleagues in the panel. For me, we are obviously, understandably, concentrating on loss and damage. It's the area of great interest for this event. But I have to say, by the end of COP, I really hope that there is also some progress on fossil fuels and, frankly, phasing out fossil fuels. For me, the fact that we have got to COP28 without an agreement around fossil fuels, and they're still arguing about apostrophes and commas, grammar, it is an abdication of our responsibility to our future generations. And I say that as somebody who leads a country that is known as the oil and gas capital of Europe. Now, we have benefited from that. We continue to benefit from that. And of course, we always say that our transition to net zero and to renewables must be a fair one, must be a just one. We call it the just transition. In fact, I appointed a cabinet secretary for the just transition. She'll be here, in fact, when I head back to Scotland. And the point is that we should all say that, yes, of course, nobody benefits from a transition away from fossil fuels where tens of thousands in Scotland end up unemployed because the jobs aren't there for renewables yet. So what we have to do is do that just transition and that we're absolutely committed to. But there should be no need for any equivocation that we have to get to a point as humanity, as a planet, to phase out fossil fuels. I think there just can't be argument about that, but I'm afraid there is. So I would want to see success, not just in relation to loss and damage. I think that is important. And I don't have anything to add actually to what my three colleagues have said around what success should look like in that regard. But we must also have success on the issue in relation to fossil fuels. So I hope we see that too.
Thank you very, very much. I was really hoping you're going to say it, and you said it. So thank you very, very much. This is a great note to end the panel. Please give another round of applause to these fantastic panelists for their contribution, for their strength, for their voice. The event is not over yet. I am very, very happy to give the floor for the final sort of remarks and thoughts to our co-chair, Yvonne Aki-Sawyer. So please, the podium is yours. And I welcome the panelists.
Well, thank you very much for the moderator, and to all the panelists, and to all of you who are here. My notes actually say thank you again to the Scottish Minister, but I think we've said, yeah, you get it. I want to emphasize that this is a really, really significant moment. And it's an honor for me to stand here and to speak as co-chair of C40 Cities. The fact that we've been able to collectively move a conversation forward with the leadership of people such as the First Minister, but many others, is a testament to the power of collective action at the local government. C40 Cities is going to make very good use of this opportunity. We're going to have targeted solutions that we will deliver in different forms within the context of the different cities that will benefit from the funding towards our work that's gone ahead of the loss and damage declaration, because we were already there. But what's so important is that we will be setting an example and giving context and giving, I think, aspiration and inspiration to others to see what can be done with the operationalization of the fund. C40 Cities published a report which Katerina mentioned earlier on, the loss and damage, called Loss and Damage Challenges and Opportunities for City Leadership. If you've not already downloaded it, please do. It will make fantastic reading for you for this evening. I'm sure you're all eager to do so. The conversation this evening has been rich. The suggestions and the recommendations have been practical. And I think as we close, we'd just like to continue to inspire us all. Our voices matter. So if you're in this room, whether you're local government or your civil society or your sub-national government, or indeed your national government, let's continue to raise our voices for those who aren't in this room, for those who have faced the injustice of the climate crisis most directly, for those for whom this is not a conversation. These are not just words. This is actually their life. There are millions, hundreds of millions of people who are experiencing, not in a theoretical way, but in a very real way, loss and damage in their lives. Let us continue to do all that we can to raise our voices, to work collectively, to be inspired to do more, to change the narrative for them. For some, it's already too late. I know personally so many people because of whom I've attended funerals. You know, I've been in situations just the other day, well, not the other day, it was last year in the rainy season, when it was pray day, it was a public holiday. Woman went to the market, asked her girls to join her. They were 19 and 20 or 21, asked them to join. It was raining. As they went to join her to go and help her carry the bags, they slipped in a gutter. They slipped in a drainage. They both died. I sat in the living room on the floor with the mom and dad. What do you say? Extreme weather, inadequate drainage, lack of finances to invest in what's needed to keep people safe. This is the reality of loss and damage. It's not just words, it's lives. So let's continue to work together to change the narrative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I think no other words are needed. You're all welcome to stay here for a short reception that is hosted by the Scottish Government and C40 Cities. Thank you very much for attending. Please do download the report and bring it to the decision makers. And we'll see each other around.